Hey people, this idea just kind of randomly came to me and I decided to whip my phone out and start recording. But I wanted to talk about what I would say to Amberlynn Reid if I could ever have the chance to just have one conversation with her where I was allowed to actually speak freely and get a word in without her speaking over me or anything like that. And if I could ever actually say something to Amberlynn and have a conversation with her, it would be around trauma. And it would be around the fact that bad things can happen to you, but that doesn't mean that you have to sit and stew in the bad things. It doesn't mean that you have to keep yourself in a cycle where things repeat themselves. And I kind of wanted to talk about being a perpetual victim because I do think Amber is a victim in the sense of her childhood sort of being robbed from her. If her own mother is willing to admit to a lot of the things that Amber has talked about, I'm not here to deny that Amberlynn Reid had a very tough childhood and one that I can't even understand, even with my challenging upbringing, because I was never in the foster system. I never even had to think about that. However, what I would like to point out to Amberlynn, if we ever had a chat, was that sometimes I wish that I had been. I was in a very toxic family, a very narcissistic family, and things would never be the way that they are with my family, the way that they are with Amberlynn now. So while her family made a lot of mistakes and did not treat her the way that she should have been treated when she was a kid or a child, the fact that her mom is willing to take any type of accountability and is willing to sit there while Amber brings up the past and stuff, that is a lot better than what I had, or what I have currently, because my mom won't take accountability for anything. She will not apologize. My mom doesn't feel bad about a single thing that she's ever done. And, I had to get CPS involved on my own mother once I was 19 years old. I had to go against my family and everything to protect my younger siblings and make sure that they were safe. And my family is a bunch of enablers towards my mother. And I became, I've always sort of been the black sheep of the family, but accountability doesn't exist in my family. And so, while I'll admit that I didn't have to go through certain things, I've never seen my parents use meth, I've never even gotten to meet my dad, except for when I was 4 years old. And the last time I've ever spoken to him was when I was, it was a year or two ago, when I was maybe 21, 22 years old. And he all of a sudden wanted to try to get back into my life because he has liver cancer and is dying. And he wanted to try to guilt trip me about that and force me to visit him and have a relationship. And I was going to try to see him and everything. And I don't want to overshare or make it all about that, but he literally wanted to do drugs, and he didn't want me to bring other people along because he wanted it to just be us, and I didn't feel comfortable with that, and he blew up at me for it. And he started insulting me and telling me that after 17 years of not seeing me or having contact with me, that he cannot believe that I would treat him like this and that I deserve everything. I just deserve to be with my mom and to use him because he's paid a little bit of child support. So the fact that he's paid child support my whole life, and the fact that I wouldn't just do what he wanted when he wanted, it means that I used him. Like, see, I have a fucked up family too, Amberlynn. Like, my family's pretty messed up as well. My mom blamed me as the oldest child for things that were never my fault. Like, and I'll never get an apology. That's the thing. Like, that's the difference. Like, I wish I had a mom like yours, Amberlynn. I wish I had a mom that could apologize and take accountability. But I have a mom who will turn things around and try to spin it around, and she really tries to make it out as if I was the problem growing up, and as if I still am the problem, and as if my mom makes it out as if, like, if she never had kids, her life would have been so much better. But because she had kids, she just had to sacrifice so much and all this stuff. Like, well, I'll never understand what it was like to, have parents who, like, use substances and stuff all the time. Well, like, the abuse that I went through growing up was, like, directed towards me. I was the one growing up that had to clean everything, including my younger siblings' rooms. So, like, I know Amber wasn't raised like that, because now that I'm an adult and I'm on my own, I cannot relax until I feel like I've gotten everything taken care of. If I've got, if I've got a dirty home, I've got to get it clean before I feel like I can just sit down, And that's because of my upbringing. I wasn't allowed to relax if things needed to be done. Like, I was relied on a lot growing up, way more than I should have been. Because my mom was a single mother of 3 kids and I was the oldest. And I know that Amber was also the oldest, I think, but there's no way that she had that kind of responsibility, because it would show. And moving forward, I just want to talk about, like, I wasn't taught how to do things for myself either. There's a lot of videos where Amberlynn says that she wasn't taught. She was in foster care. She didn't get a good education. Her parents didn't teach her this, that, the other. I literally wasn't allowed to use the washer or dryer growing up because my mom, I think it was more just to, like, put me down. But my mom was, quote unquote, scared that I would break it. She didn't trust me or my younger siblings to use the washer or dryer. So I was out on my own and I had to just figure it out. But it wasn't that hard. That's the thing. It took me, the first time I washed my clothes and used the dryer and everything, and I knew how to do it after that. There's, like, a very small amount of variation between washers and dryers at different places. When it comes to cooking, I really only knew a vague idea of what ingredients kind of can go together and not. And then I just started throwing things in the oven, cooking things on the stovetop, and eventually I gained a cooking skill set. Like, I actually have quite a few things that I know how to make. I started looking up recipes, and, like, I actually would follow recipes, and I taught myself how to cook. I didn't sit there and say, I was never taught, so I guess I'm just bound to eating McDonald's for the rest of my life. No, because I want to eat decent food, and I don't want to spend $20 every single time I want to eat. So I learned how to make a steak in the oven or on the stovetop. I learned how to make fajitas and tacos. I learned how to make casserole, tater tot casserole, lasagna. I learned how to do that stuff. I went shopping and I learned how to grocery shop, and I learned which convenient foods are, the ones that I like. I've learned how to balance eating junk food and eating healthy, and balancing when I need convenience versus when I should be taking the time to do things correctly and, like, actually making a healthy meal and washing my dishes up. I've learned these life skills because I'm forcing myself to continue through life and to live life as a normal person, or at least as best as I can, so that I can just have a regular, happy life where I'm not a spectacle, where I'm not, I don't make everybody else uncomfortable when they're around me. And, even though I have a lot of pain from certain things of my childhood, from my past, from now, like, it hurts me that I can't just actively call my mother. I wish I had a relationship or the type of mom where, like, yeah, I'm having a bad day. I would like to call my mom and talk to her about it. But I don't have that. My mom is selfish and she's only focused on herself and the way that things make her feel and her perception of life. She doesn't care about my perception. And I've had to accept that. And it hurts. But instead of, bothering everybody else about it, calling my friends up every day and whining, I deal with it. When I have really bad moments, that's when I go out and I spend some time alone. And sometimes I crash out and I binge drink. And I do make poor choices every now and then. But I recognize those poor choices and I try not to repeat them. I try not to stay in a cycle of poor choices and negativity and drama and just being miserable. And I guess, so that's the main part of what I would want to talk to Amberlynn about, is the fact that, yeah, bad things happen to you, but you don't have to perpetuate them. You don't have to basically kind of continue to ask for it for the rest of your life. You don't need to put yourself in bad situations. And remaining at 500 plus pounds, being with a feeder, not even trying to do things like getting a driver's license or doing anything to gain some semblance of independence. Like, that's all your fault. Like, yeah, your childhood and everything else, that wasn't your fault, but everything for the last, you're 34, 33? Everything for the last 14, 15, 16 years, somewhere in that range, everything for the last 14 to 16 years is your fault. It's your doing. I mean, I would argue that even 18, 19, 20, you're still immature, you're still going to be naive, you're still not going to know how the world works, but you're still responsible for yourself at that point, legally, but also, in every other kind of way. And some people get that privilege of, they have a few extra years where, they basically don't have to grow up. They don't have to be an adult. But unfortunately, when you're someone like me or when you're someone like Amberlynn, you don't get a choice. You have to grow up faster than other people. And when you're legally an adult, you are legally an adult. And the full weight of that kind of exists for you because there isn't anyone to lighten the burden or, sort of, I almost feel like it's kind of delusional for people who are 18, 19 years old to still be acting like they're 16. There's no consequences. You don't have to pay bills. But the thing is I've been having to help pay bills and stuff since I was 14. I've been having to be financially dependent on myself since I was a teenager. So someone like me, I cannot fathom being like Amberlynn, who lived off of other people until I was 23 years old, which is how old I am now. Amberlynn got her first job at my age. I got my first job 9 years ago because I was 14 and I started working on a dairy farm for 10 hours a week. And by the time I was 15, it was 25. And in summer, it turned full time, 40, 50, 60 hours a week in summer. And I don't think Amber could fucking imagine that. I do not believe. When I was 16 years old, summertime, 80, 90 degree weather, I was baling hay, feeding cows, cleaning up after cows, milking cows, running tractor. Like, that was my life in summertime, in the heat, wearing blue jeans and, like, uncomfortable clothes. Amberlynn cannot even imagine or fathom what that was like, just like I can't even imagine or fathom what foster care was like. But it doesn't matter at this point in our lives. It doesn't matter if I can imagine it or if she can imagine it, because it's done and over with. And at this point, the only thing we have to look forward to is the future. And that's like, everybody has, hard things that they've gone through, even the most privileged of people. And if you focus on the bad things, you're going to make yourself feel like your life sucks. That's the way you're going to perceive life. But if you focus on at least some of the good, and you change your focus, your attitude, life changes as well. And, yeah, that's pretty much, if I could have one conversation with Amberlynn Reid, this would be about it.